All right.
All right, I just promoted Carlos, so he should be joining us as a panelist here pretty soon.
Niall, I just promoted Carlos to a panelist instead of an attendee.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, after some technical difficulties, I think hopefully the internet's not going to break on us and we're going to get this presentation started. Welcome everyone as an attendee to our annual health conference, health presentation. We're focusing tonight just on secondary materials. And before we get started at all, we want to make sure that our families who need Spanish translation have that ability to get Spanish translation. So we have Carlos Ellis on the line with us, and he is going to help us out through that process. Carlos, do you want to speak a little bit about how families can join for Spanish-speaking translation?
Yes. Mi número de teléfono es el 425-239-8026. Puede llamar a mi número de teléfono y con mucho gusto yo le traduzco. Can get the number typed in. Are you able to do it, Niall?
Yeah, let's see here. I don't see that actually we have a chat enabled on this.
Okay.
Carlos. We do have a Q&A. If needed, I could also bring it up on I can share my screen and bring it up that way as well. Carlos, would you like me to share my screen and bring it up, or do you feel like you've got people able to join?
Yes. Yeah, I gave my number.
Okay.
So.
Perfect. Well, I'll get my screen shared, and we will wait for just a minute for families to be able to join you for a Spanish translation as well. All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started. I hope that families are now able to hear Carlos that needs Spanish translation. We want to welcome you all again to the Community Health Materials presentation for grades 6 through 12. The focus of our presentation tonight is really looking at health materials. And before we start on that, I want to share our Monroe commitments. These are commitments that the community came around and decided on a number of years ago. And we really want to ensure that our students are able to have powerful instruction in the classroom, equitable access to the time, support, and instruction that they need, as well as that we are holding our students to high expectations and are helping them to achieve their best in the classroom. The few introductions that I want to make sure we recognize here. My name is Niall Trimble. I am the Director of Curriculum and Assessment in the Monroe School District. We also have Carlos Ellis, who is our Hispanic liaison, helping us out with translation tonight. And then joining me tonight, we have Kim Whitworth, who is our Chief Academic Officer, Shannon Tarek, who is our Director of College and Career Readiness, Christy Hilson, who is the Park Place Middle School Principal, and Jonathan Judy, who is the Hidden River Middle School Principal. Our focus today is really around 4 different topics. One, we're going to do a pretty high-level review of what topics are covered at different grade levels in 6th through 12th grade around sexual health and HIV/AIDS. Then I'll show you how to access and review the materials so that families can see the materials we're using in the district. Third, we'll go through the process for excluding or opting your student out of HIV/AIDS or sexual health lessons. And then lastly, we will take a minute or two to talk about the next steps for sexual health education in the district. So first off, what is taught at different grades? Tonight, again, we're focusing on 6th through 12th grade. In 6th grade, students participate in lessons around HIV and AIDS, around male and female reproductive systems, and around abstinence and puberty. These lessons are taught in the general science class, and typically these lessons are taught in the springtime. Let me go back one slide. Typically, they're taught in the springtime in May or June. Similarly, in 7th grade, there are lessons around HIV and AIDS. Also included in 7th grade are lessons and information around sexually transmitted diseases and sexually transmitted infections. We do lessons around male and female reproductive systems, and then also around abstinence and puberty in 7th grade. These classes are also taught in science classes, and again, typically are taught in May and June. Eighth grade has a little different structure. Since 8th grade students participate in a health class, the lessons are taught within that health class. Now, I do want to make clear that when parents choose to opt their student out or excuse their student from sexual health and HIV/AIDS lessons, that does not mean that students are being excused from the whole class for the entire semester. The excusal and opt-out process is specifically around these lessons. So 8th grade students participate in units around preventing disease, which includes information on HIV and AIDS, as well as sexually transmitted diseases, abstinence, risk prevention, and pregnancy prevention. 8th grade students also look at healthy living during the life cycle, which includes puberty, male and female reproductive systems, infant and child development. And these lessons, because they're taught in health class, are taught in the wintertime in December and January, typically for first semester, and then in May or June, typically for second semester. The question came up about what's the difference between 6th and 7th grade topics? And I want to address this before we move on to high school. So the 6th and 7th grade topics generally look the same when we look at the difference between these slides. One of the major differences here is adding in the information about sexually transmitted diseases in 7th grade, and then really ensuring that we're providing a little more age-appropriate or in-depth information in 7th grade as opposed to 6th grade. Looking at high school, in 9th grade or 10th grade, students also typically take a health class. Within this health class, there's information on HIV/AIDS and other sexually transmitted infections. There are lessons around abstinence, birth control, and contraceptives. Again, there are lessons on male and female reproductive systems, and also infant and child development. In addition to this, there's information around affirmative consent, healthy relationships, and bystander training to prevent sexual and relationship violence. And the timing for these typically occur in December or January for first semester, and then in June or May for second semester. In 11th and 12th grade, students do not typically take a health class. However, it is required by law that students receive information on HIV and AIDS each year. So at the 11th and 12th grade level, where we are going to be doing these lessons is still going to be determined in conversation with the high school. However, we are going to do these lessons in May or June, as has been done in the past. Let's go ahead and move on to a little bit of the materials review and where parents and families can find these materials. All of our materials are available on the district website. The first step to find these is to go to monroe.wednet.edu. From here, you will want to hover over the departments banner and then scroll down and click on Learning and Teaching. After you get into the Learning and Teaching page, you're going to want to click on the left-hand side, Health and Sexual Health Education. And then if you scroll down to the bottom, you will find instructional materials there by grade level. You can open up these different grade bands and click to see the grade level materials there. I'm going to go out here to the website and just demonstrate this really quickly. So this link here will take me to the district website. And I can hover over departments and click on Learning and Teaching. On the left-hand side, we have the Health and Sexual Health Education page. And then we have information here around the health and sexual health education information. Included here is information about our presentation that we're doing right now. And then if you scroll all the way down, there are instructional materials. 6th through 8th grade has information here that is clickable for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I want to make a note that we are working with our partners at Glencoe to get access to the additional Teen Smart materials that we use at 8th grade. And then in our 9th through 12th grade health class, this information is available through these instructions. First, we'll click on the Savas Realize, which will take us out to a separate website. And then we'll click on Sign In and enter this username and password to access the book digitally online. Now, let me get my presentation loaded back up here and we will keep going. All right, so let's keep going on. Frequently asked questions are also on the Health and Sexual Health Education website. They're more towards the top. And these are questions that have been generated by community members asking about what is being taught in Monroe School District. Lastly, to the opt-out or excusal process and procedure, we'd like for families to be able to print and sign the exclusion request form, and then please submit this to the Learning and Teaching Department 10 days before instruction is to occur. If you can't email this, you are also welcome to return it to your student's school office, and they will make sure that the form is processed and make sure that your student is opted out of this instruction. I'm going to go back to the website and show you exactly where these forms are. On our district website, let me scroll up here. On the Health and Sexual Health Education page, they're actually in 2 places on this website. If you click to the Community Health Presentation links and materials, there is links to the English and Spanish form here. Secondly, you can look at the opt-out procedure, and there is the English and Spanish exclusion request form right there. We are currently working to get this form translated into more languages than English and Spanish. And we expect that these other languages will be up next week, including Portuguese, Arabic, Russian, Ukrainian, and other languages that are spoken in the Monroe School District. All right, before I move on to next steps in the school district, there's another couple questions that have come up. One of the questions is, can we come view the materials at the district office rather than virtually? And the answer to that is absolutely. You are more than welcome to schedule an appointment to come view these in person. Another question, when was the current curriculum and resources implemented at Monroe High School? Are these new this year? We have no new materials this year across the district. The only exception is for affirmative consent and bystander awareness. We are working on developing some lessons to be used at the high school. These have not been implemented yet and have not had final approval from our school board yet. We're hoping to have these lessons approved in November so that teachers can use them in December and January. And specifically, those are around healthy relationships, how to recognize relationship violence, and next steps that you can take to keep yourself or someone else around you safe in a situation of relationship violence. Question was asked, can you repeat that? Absolutely. First question was, can we view these in person? Yes, you can schedule an appointment to view the materials in person at the school district office. You can either schedule that by coming into the district office and scheduling at that time, or you can call our learning and teaching department at 360-804-2550 and schedule an appointment. And then when was current curriculum and resources implemented? Our current health materials at the high school, it is a 2014 text, and the new materials that we are looking to implement this year are around affirmative consent and bystander awareness. Lastly, to next steps in the Monroe School District. As many of you might be aware, last year, Washington State implemented new legislation around sexual health education in Washington State and encouraged school districts to review materials that are currently adopted. One of the things we found as we reviewed materials was that we have many materials in the school district that are getting old and are needing to be replaced. Because of this, we have gotten together a committee that is starting to look at guiding principles for sexual health in the school district, and we are hoping to have materials identified, reviewed, and approved this school year. The committee that we have right now has 29 members in it that consist of school district administrators, teachers, community members, and parents, as well as medical representation from Evergreen Health and local medical partners. Lastly, if you have any questions about this information, please feel free to reach out. My email is, I'll go back to it, it's on the slide around the opt-out form. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. You can also reach out to our learning and teaching department if you have questions as well. A few more questions just popped up, and I'd like to address those. One of the questions was about the high school text from 2014. Does that mean that nothing has changed since 4 to 5 years ago? Yes, the materials used at the high school are the same as 4 to 5 years ago. The only adjustment there is around the affirmative consent and bystander awareness materials that we are currently looking at, but have not yet been approved. Next question, once content is approved, will you publish it for review? Absolutely. We are hoping to have community input on new content in January and February, and we'll do another webinar and open house for community members to view that material and provide questions and input. And then lastly, a question about supporting at home. Parents are more than welcome to provide sexual health instruction at home. And if you choose to do that, we would ask that you submit the excusal or opt-out form so that we can respect that right of parents. Yeah, one last question. For what a student does if a student is opted out, the teacher will work with the school and identify an appropriate location as well as alternative activities for a student to do. Specifically in 6th grade, that would probably be alternative activities regarding science content, since these lessons are taught in the science classroom. And a question around condom demonstrations. Our condom demonstration typically happens in 8th grade, and then contraceptives are also addressed in the high school class as well. And so, yes, we are planning to be able to teach this information in those classes. Question around how do we know when 10 days is? Teachers will be, hopefully, and schools will be communicating more specific dates coming up, but yes, you can submit the form before that. The second part of that question is, can we submit it early? Absolutely. The 10-day period is just to help provide that leeway so that teachers know which students need to be opted out. Another question just came in, is there a real difference between abstinence and puberty classes in 6th and 7th grade? I would not say a huge difference between the abstinence and puberty lessons. For 6th and 7th grade, we use Flash materials as well as ETR's Health Smart materials. So some of the content does build on each other from 6th to 7th grade, but not a drastic jump in content level. I'm going to wait for just a minute here to see if there are any other questions that pop in. We don't have any more information than that. I would highly encourage you to take some time to review the materials. If you have questions, again, please reach out. Yeah, there's a question just came in around the condom demonstration. Typically, the condom demonstration is done by a nurse who uses the condom either on a banana or an alternative method to demonstrate the proper use of a condom. And again, that demonstration is typically done in 8th grade, as well as discussing contraceptives and birth control in the 9th grade health class as well. After this webinar is processed, we will be posting this on the website for families to view throughout the school year. So if you want to come back and review this at a later time, feel free to check back about next week. And it should be posted to our health and sexual health education page of the district website. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. From all of us here in Monroe School District, we want to say thank you to all of you. We appreciate the parent support and parent partnership around health and sexual health education. And we are striving to do our best for your children and for our children in the school district. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And with that, I am going to close off our webinar. Have a great night, everyone, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Niall, did you see there were some questions that popped in there at the end?